I only have one message to give you. I don't care what you think of me. I don't care what you call me. I do care what you do with this information because it is important to our survival as a species.
George, just when you thought these mass shootings, which you and I have covered way too many of, just when you thought they couldn't get worse or more shocking, along comes Adam Lanza, who began his day by killing his mother and ended it by storming that school. And of all the people he shot, there was only one survivor. 9:40 a.m. Reports of gunfire at Sandy Hook Elementary.
Sandy Hook School. Callers indicating she thinks there's someone shooting in the building.
Police say 20-year-old Adam Lanza, seen here as a teenager, wore a bulletproof vest and was carrying at least 3 semi-automatic weapons, including a rifle.
Everybody was a little scared, crying, and I felt actually a little sick.
Within 5 to 10 minutes, the first SWAT teams arrived.
Okay, these units in the school, I got bodies here.
Officers helped teachers lead several hundred students to a nearby fire station.
When the policeman came in to get us, he told us to close our eyes and, like on the picture on the news, do this and run.
At 10:30 a.m., President Obama was briefed on the situation while police discovered a second crime scene. The shooter's mother, Nancy Lanza, who authorities believe may have worked at Sandy Hook at some point, was found dead. Police say Adam Lanza shot her before he stormed the school. Around noon, ABC News learned that Lanza had killed 27 people, most of them children, before turning the gun on himself.
You have gone through this report from this horrendous shooting from a year ago. Does it answer the question why?
It doesn't. Don't we wish that it did? It's only about 44 pages long, and honestly, we have not had time to go through everything, so I'm pulling together some information from the executive summary. But there are 3 main findings that it contains, and that is this. First of all, probably to no one's surprise, the shooter acted alone, according to the state's attorney. They have found no evidence that indicate that he planned this with anyone or had help with anyone in carrying out this terrible massacre at Sandy Hook Elementary. Secondly, no clear reason why he did it and why he chose Sandy Hook Elementary as his target, where he killed 26 people, 20 of them young children. And finally, they recognized that he had significant mental health problems. How and whether that played a role, according to the state's attorney, remains unknown at this time. They have interviewed several mental health care professionals, none of whom, according to the state attorney, said they could have predicted this kind of behavior, perhaps not surprisingly.
we're about a half mile away, but you know, I've been listening to the broadcast, and since we're quoting a number of other news organizations, I want to tell you what my sources have been telling me. Now, apparently, what I said originally, remember we said this is a fluid situation, but what I said earlier, that it was a 20-year-old, they've gone back to that. Apparently, 20-year-old Adam Lanza, who is from Newtown, yesterday in Hoboken, apparently may have killed his older brother's girlfriend. Then he came today to Newtown and killed his father here in Newtown, Peter Lanza. That's the other scene that the police are at. Then he came here to the Sandy Hook Elementary School, came into the school, and then killed his mother and her kindergarten class. 20 children dead already. So this is apparently what the sources are saying, but people have been wondering, how did he get in the school? This is not officially confirmed. This comes from a couple of sources, that he was definitely dressed in black. But one of the sources is saying, only one, that he was dressed as a member of the clergy, that they thought he was a minister. But anyway, he was dressed in black with the body armor. He came in with a Glock semi-automatic pistol and a 6-hour semi-automatic pistol. And he also somehow got into the school the civilian version of the M16 rifle, an assault rifle.
I know that I just got off the phone with my mom. She has friends whose children go to that very school, just picked up the children. There's a lot of information. What they are hearing, my mom says, is that this guy, the gunman, worked at the school and he was fired this morning. One of the victims was his mother, who was a kindergarten teacher. It's going to spark a very, very heated debate about gun control in the country.
We'll have to see how that plays out. We know that the politicians have kind of set politics aside today, and everybody's kind of coming together around this community.
Lanza had been an honor roll student at Newtown High School, but it wasn't clear if he had a job.
It's unusual for a kid to kind of go unnoticed, or for people not even to be aware of who he is.
Adam's older brother Ryan was questioned for hours Friday night by authorities in Hoboken, New Jersey. Police say he was very cooperative. Ryan Lanza reportedly told police that his brother has a personality disorder. Federal authorities are also looking into whether or not Lanza visited any local gun ranges, although there's no evidence that he trained for this attack or was active in any gun communities.
Police tell us that it's clear the gunman was on a mission to kill as many people as possible. He took at least 3 guns, multiple magazines of ammunition to target a defenseless elementary school and children as young as 5. Police say 20-year-old Adam Lanza was armed for mass murder when he attacked a target he knew very well. Lanza, whose mother was a teacher at Sandy Hill Elementary, arrived in the school parking lot driving his mother's black Honda. He was carrying 2 lethal semi-automatic handguns, a Sig Sauer, the type of gun carried by Secret Service agents, and a Glock 9mm, a model used by many police officers and federal agents across the United States. Officials say Lanza headed directly for a specific section of the school and opened fire, killing students in 2 classrooms. It is not known how many rounds he fired, but both guns are capable of carrying high-capacity extended clips, which can hold up to 30 rounds. Police Lieutenant Paul Vance said evidence teams are still working through the horrible scene.
We will be here through the night, certainly through the weekend, and we're not even putting a time stamp on this as to when we will complete this project.
Sources say Lanza died of a self-inflicted gunshot inside the school, but investigators suspect he may have intended to carry out a broader attack. A third gun, a .223 assault rifle, was found outside the school in the back of his mother's car.
Tonight, more information about the guns found near the shooter's body. Sources telling ABC News the shooter's mom bought the rifle in March 2010 and the handguns in March 2011 and this past January. ATF agents finding the shooter and his mom visited more than one shooting range in the last several years. 7 News found this private shooting club about 4 miles from the shooter's home. We came to ask if the Lanzas were members or what ATF agents asked the owners. No one was here.
I've talked to many people in town, and they have told me that everybody knew Adam Lanza. He was the awkward guy who always stuck out, and no one really had an idea about how to relate to him.
It's a mystery, and all the reporters been asking around if anybody knows them on the block, and nobody knows them, which is odd for this neighborhood. It's very odd because a lot of people in this neighborhood know each other, and that if they don't know each other, they know of somebody.
Go now to one of the witnesses who was on the scene.
I saw him walk a guy earlier with handcuffs. He walked by us and said he didn't do it.
It was a grown man.
A grown man, yeah. He's sitting in the front of the police car over there now. So, I mean...
He didn't have a gun?
No, I didn't see any gun. Just had him handcuffed, and he walked by us and looked into parents' eyes and said, I didn't do it.
How was he dressed?
Camo pants with a dark jacket.
Believed at this hour, and it's been confirmed to ABC News by state police there in Connecticut, that 2 shooters were initially believed involved in the mass shooting. One of those shooters now dead. What's not been confirmed is whether or not that gunman took his own life or whether or not there was something that ensued after authorities began arriving at the scene.
So we ran out. There's police about at every door. They're leading us down this way, quick, come on. And we ran down to the firehouse. There's a man pinned down to the ground with handcuffs on, and we thought that was the victim. We really didn't get a good glance at him because he was, like, there's a car blocking it.
Danbury's reporting a possible vehicle, a purple van, 2 occupants with a possible ski mask that may be involved in this incident. Exit 8 heading down Stony Hill towards the center. People may be involved in this incident. Also, we're getting reports of one of them may be wearing a nun outfit heading towards Danbury, Stony Hill. Purple van, unknown plate.
770 Yankee Sierra Whiskey 770 YSW Constructed Ranch.
Where's 11. What's the location of Oxford handle?
Today, the governor of Connecticut told ABC's George Stephanopoulos the rampage only ended at around 9:50, about 10 minutes after it began, when Lanza heard the wailing sirens approaching and killed himself with 1 bullet to the head.
We surmise that it was during the second classroom episode that he heard responders coming and apparently at that decided to take his own life.
But we do know Lanza headed down a hallway towards the section of the school containing the classrooms of the youngest students. There, he killed 20 first graders, shooting all of them numerous times with the .223 assault rifle. 6 adult women, including the principal, the school psychologist, and teachers were also killed. Police radio logs suggest the shooting lasted about 10 minutes. The slaughter ended as the first police officers arrived on the scene. Sources say Lanza was briefly spotted at the end of a hallway. He ducked from view. The officers heard a final volley of shots. Lanza had used one of the handguns to take his own life.
Newtown, Connecticut is in a state of shock because the unthinkable just happened. A mass shooting at the Sandy Hook Elementary School. Here's what we know right now, and there are conflicting reports this hour over the exact identity of the shooter. We're told that the suspect's brother is being questioned. Officials say his mother was found dead in Connecticut, and his father's body in New Jersey.
But we're told, and this may turn out to be an important piece of information about the potential motive here, that on the 13th of December, Adam Lanza went to the school, a couple of officials have told us, and got in some kind of altercation, is the word that they use, between him and 4 other staff members. Now, they say that of the 4 staff members that he got into an argument with, 3 were killed in yesterday's shooting. A 4th person was not there. The 4th person was not at school that day, and that staff member is being interviewed by federal investigators, and that may turn out to, or rather federal and state investigators, and that may turn out to be an important piece of information. So we don't know why that altercation took place, what the substance of it, what the nature of it was. And as you heard at the news conference just a few minutes ago, the police there in Connecticut say when they went to the mother's house, they found what they described as some valuable evidence that they think may be able to use, they say, to paint a complete picture as to why. So it does appear that the investigators there are beginning to develop some idea about the motive, though we don't know yet what that is, and I suspect they don't have all the pieces in place yet.
The government encouraged the manufacture and importation of military firearms for the criminals to use. This is intended to foster a feeling of insecurity, which would lead the American people to voluntarily disarm themselves by passing laws against firearms. Using drugs and hypnosis on mental patients in a process called Orion, the CIA inculcated the desire in these people to open fire on schoolyards and thus inflame the anti-gun lobby. This plan is well underway and so far is working perfectly. The middle class is begging the government to do away with the Second Amendment.
Senseless slaughter, the latest in a long string of mass shootings in America, has reopened the politically explosive subject of gun control and the Second Amendment.
Now to the debate over gun control and what many are calling in this country a watershed moment in the wake of the massacre in Newtown. Some stores are pulling certain guns off their shelves, and President Obama is set to make a major announcement this morning. ABC's Pierre Thomas joins us now this morning with the very latest on this story. Good morning, Pierre.
Good morning, Elizabeth. In just a few hours, President Obama takes the first steps to make good on his vow to respond to the massacre at Newtown. He will announce that he's directing major federal agencies to come up with answers to address the scourge of gun violence.
Another American shooting rampage and another round of questions over the country's gun control laws. Some 30,000 people are killed each year by firearms in the United States. But some owners don't see why this latest mass murder should mean tougher legislation.
Connecticut shooting has sparked a nationwide debate about guns and gun control in America.
In the aftermath of the Newtown tragedy, there's growing demand for tighter controls on guns. An ABC News Washington Post poll conducted this weekend found a big shift. The number of people who say that they strongly support stricter gun control laws went up by 5 points, while the number who strongly opposed went down 5 points. And as I recall, after the shooting in Aurora, Colorado this summer, you actually didn't see such a big shift.
This horrifying attack has now reignited a debate over gun control. Big questions now about whether stricter laws can stop more mass shootings.
Until that morning, 20 of our children and 6 of our educators gone out of the blue. I've heard people say that the tidal wave of anguish our country felt on 12/14 has receded, but not for us. To us, it feels as if it happened just yesterday. And in the 4 months since we lost our loved ones, thousands of other Americans have died at the end of a gun.
I've never asked for anything, not from you or anyone. Now it's my turn to be selfish. Here. Just pull the trigger! Wouldn't the world be better off without me? I can't let you go.
And it's funny because you think you research this stuff, you think you know all there is to know about a topic, and then new shit comes to light. More new shit has come to light. This is about one of the two main figureheads in this whole thing, David and Francine Wheeler. Well, it turns out, we both know that they're both essentially actors, Francine was in the Dream Jam Band, where she talks about how it's all for the kids, and David was in a really bad movie called Faithful 2001, and that's kind of, he was in with an acting troupe and a comedy troupe, etc. Faithful 2001, it turns out, has a huge gun and suicide and dark side kind of, but it's got an overflowing and overarching gun aspect to it. So then we find out that his wife, and this is where it gets interesting, his wife, Francine, worked for Maureen White, finance chairman of the Democratic National Committee. She happened to be the top fundraiser, and get this, she was married to Wall Streeter Stephen Ratner, who ruffled some feathers by joining Democrats for Bloomberg, and was the chief conduit of New York money. So she actually resigned. So Stephen Ratner, apparently, also he's been under a kickback investigation, and he has these super close ties with Bloomberg, but Bloomberg doesn't want to get rid of him. So this is a man who's married to the woman who the actors of Sandy Hook worked for. One of the actors, Francine Wheeler. So it's a very close connection. And kickbacks to the former aide and former state comptroller in exchange for aide's help in landing a state investment contract. It's like, and he works for Bloomberg, and his wife, and he also has worked for Obama, and his wife is this huge fundraiser, and she happens to have been the one who employed Francine Wheeler. It's so bad, these people. Shame. Shame, 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 shame.
Are unable to connect the necessary dots to prevent this from happening again. Yes, I can. I've never asked for anything. Not from you or anyone. Now it's my turn to be selfish. This isn't like you, Bob. No, it isn't, is it? It's not like me at all. I think you're bringing this out in me. I don't know how to stop. It doesn't matter to whom these weapons were registered. It doesn't matter if they were purchased legally. Legislation must ensure that any firearm in a home be re-registered annually.
I've also asked people who have influence over youngsters, entertainers, athletes, to be involved in this program as well. But not only them, community leaders, Jesse Jackson, Mayor Barry, people who have credibility with young people should be on the television, on the radio, as much as we possibly can, and telling these youngsters that it's wrong to carry a gun, and that if you have information about people who are carrying guns, you've got to share that with Chief Thomas and with his people as well. I've also asked the school board to make a part of every day some kind of anti-violence, anti-gun message. Every day, every school, at every level. One thing that I think is clear with young people and with adults as well is that we just have to be repetitive about this. It's not enough to simply have a catchy ad on a Monday and then only do it every Monday. We need to do this every day of the week and just really brainwash people into thinking about guns in a vastly different way.
The more we get further from the event of the horrible tragedy on December 14, the less persuasive the voices are and less persuasive government action at the local and state level is.
Before you sit,
yes.
Do you solemnly and sincerely affirm and declare that the evidence you shall give in the case and all questions shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth upon the pain and penalty of perjury?
I do.
Okay. Let the record show the first electors took the oath. Can I have your spelling of your last name, please?
L-L-O-D-R.
We have no questions.
L-L-O-D-R.
We have no questions.
All right, thank you. May I proceed?
Good afternoon. What is your position at the town of Newtown?
I'm the first selectman.
And how long have you been the first selectman?
I was elected in November of 2009 and took office on December 1 of that same year.
In your capacity as first selectman, did you receive freedom of information act requests from Mr. Halvey?
Yes, I did.
And in response to those requests, did you search for documents?
Yes.
And did you direct others to search for documents on your behalf?
Yes.
And any documents that were within the first selectman's office, did you locate any documents that were responsive in the first selectman's office?
No.
Directing your attention, please, to, in particular, to request 7. That is a request for porta potties ordered from Chatfield Porta Potties of Southbury, Connecticut. And in particular, a copy of the bill for installation and use of the porta potties referred to the above, ordered for use on December 14, 2012. Do you see that?
Yes.
All right. Do you know whether or not porta potties were delivered to the area surrounding the Sandy Hook School on 12/14/2014?
I have no knowledge of that.
Did the town order porta potties on 12/14/2012 or any time around that date for the Sandy Hook School?
Absolutely not.
Did the town pay for any porta potties that may have been delivered to the area on or about 12/14/2012?
No.
And no invoices obviously were received by the town during that period?
None.
Directing your attention please to request number 8. It's for the sign-in log referred to on the traffic sign posted outside the Sandy Hook Elementary School on 12/14/2012. Do you see that?
Yes.
All right. And were you able to locate a copy of the sign-in log?
No.
Do you know whether or not the sign-in log was placed on the traffic sign by the town of Newtown?
It was not.
And was it ever given to the town of Newtown?
It was not.
No further questions.
So let me understand this. There's a sign in, there's a sign, flashing sign that says, everyone must check in. But the town didn't put it there. Who do you think put it there?
I believe Homeland Security put it there.
Okay.
Oh, that's good. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
I believe Homeland Security put it there. I believe Homeland Security put it there.
I believe Homeland Security put it there.
And in Oxford, police are preparing for the what if. We've seen the horrors of Columbine and Virginia Tech, and today state police ran through what they would do if what happened there happened here. Fox 61's Jim Altman has more on the training troopers hope they'll never have to use.
By air and on the ground.
The subject is now barricaded with a revolver. There's no other hostage.
First responders are taking aim at reality.
Stop, look down, make sure no IDs.
The blood is fake, but the lesson is real at Oxford High School.
More coming out.
More coming out. Today, the state police staged an active shooter drill on a grand scale.
In the back of your mind, you always have Columbine.
This is an opportunity for the Connecticut State Police to take the training that we have and integrate it with other first responding agencies.
In a real event, we would have these resources deployed.
From students and teachers to local police, everyone in town is playing a vital piece in the puzzle.
He's heading out the east-northeast side.
The scenario, 2 armed men have stormed the building, injured students, and have hostages.
Joining room, full here.
We join the state police's highly trained TAC team as they search for the assailants.
In 21st century policing, the first responders are trained now to react to the situation, to not only react, but to actively get involved in stopping the aggression.
This is the largest exercise of its kind ever put on in the state. Over 150 police, EMS, and firefighters.
It's about everybody coming together, working together, and making everything go well and make sure everybody that is involved in the incident is safe.
The advised hostage has been recovered by EMS. Roger.
And today, through this chaos, the goal is cohesion.
It went almost flawless. There were a couple bumps in the road, and you expect that in any drill situation, but it's a learning experience.
067 received, 1 in custody.
In Oxford, Jim Altman, Fox 61.
The tragedy at Sandy Hook Elementary is shining a spotlight on school safety for all parents. That school had reportedly installed a new security system, and they did conduct regular lockdown drills. Despite the precautions, the gunman still found and forced his way in, according to authorities.
So what do we do looking forward? What we do looking forward is we look towards each experience that happened. From Columbine, we know that police waited a little too long, and now they have the active shooter program, where police now respond in a very quick way and go in teams of 2 to try and stop what's ever happening. It happened recently in the mall in Portland. It happened yesterday. Let's talk about what went right yesterday. He had to fight his way into the school. The school, for a small little community, 25,000, 30,000 people, had some of the most sophisticated systems that we know in schools or in institutions today. He had to fire his way in. At the point in time where he got in, there were teachers. There was a conversation on Studio B yesterday about this, Miss Martin. Let's talk about the unsung hero, the teachers who nestled their kids and locked down their classrooms upon the lockdown.
They had practiced this, so those drills do pay off.
Most schools around this country and learning institutions, colleges, practice these drills. There's also the robocalling, where not only are you alerting the other teachers through the robocall, you're alerting the parents and the local officials. And then the police responded in hundreds within minutes.
Second grader Louis, his mom Lindsay, and his grandmother Kathy. Oh, he's in 3rd grade. Louis. Thank you, Louis. I asked all the kids what questions they want me to ask, because obviously this is a sensitive topic. So, Louis, you wanted me to ask you what you remembered from that day.
Yes. I remember that a lot of policemen were in the school. Well, I was like hiding under when we were having a drill. We were hiding under like.
Take your time. There's no hurry. Go ahead. Let me ask you, what would you like to say to your teachers about Friday?
Well, I don't know, but it's like...
Wait, you appreciate your teachers?
Yeah, I appreciate my teachers. And Thank them for helping you? Thank them for helping me a lot of time and stuff. So
That's fine. That's perfect. Thank you.
You know, about 9:30, 9:40, we heard noises, and the announcement system was still on, so it didn't go off. So you could hear what sounded like pops, gunshots. Of course, I'm not going to tell that to 5-year-olds, so I said to them, well, we're going over in a safe area, and we're going to, you know, we read a story, and we kept them calm, did a lockdown drill, closed the doors, locked, covered the windows, and, you know, kept the children with us. I have other adults.
I find that amazing. I find that amazing that fearing that you hear gunshots, you were able to have the composure to sit down and read to your students. I mean, that's extraordinary.
Have to do with 5-year-olds because you can't lose it. So, you know, you just kind of, I've been doing this for a long time. It's my 18th year of teaching, and, you know, my job was to keep them safe. I didn't know. There was no announcement of what was going on. You know, my instinct was it wasn't good. So, you know, we kept them calm. We stayed in the room until there was banging at the door, which were the police and the troopers or whoever was there, and they had us exit the building. And, you know, they told the children to cover their eyes and walk in a line and leave the building, and that's when we went down towards the firehouse. So, you know, we were all safe. I had 19 children in the room with me, and thank goodness all of their parents were, you know, able to come and pick them up and take them home.
As you were reading to them, I mean, did the kids realize something was going on, or did they just think it was a drill like you'd had before?
Right. It didn't seem a natural thing, although we do practice drills. And we just said, well, we're not really sure, but we're going to be safe because we're sitting over here and we're all together.
Earlier today, a tragedy of unspeakable terms played itself out in this community. Lieutenant Governor and I have been spoken to in an attempt that we might be prepared for something like this playing itself out in our state. These guns aren't used to hunt deer. And you know, I'm a big believer in hunting rights, big believer in supporting the Second Amendment, but there is a reality that this stuff is going too far and is too easy to own. And then the whole point of your question is that Connecticut has these laws. In the absence of a federal framework in which we limit really the explosive nature of the weapons and ammunition that's used, no state would ever be safe based on simply its own laws.
Experts and law enforcement professionals, but identifying and by targeting the groups that are responsible for violence throughout this city and eventually the entire state of Connecticut. I think it's really important, the entire state of Connecticut. Project Longevity will send a powerful message to those who would harm their fellow citizens, that such acts will not be tolerated, that they will be swiftly met with clear, predictable consequences. But also that help is available for all those who wish to break the cycle of violence and gang activity. And although, as David mentioned, Connecticut has experienced an overall decrease in violent crime rates over the last year, shootings and homicides remain all too common in cities like Bridgeport, Hartford, and right here in New Haven. In many cases, the victims, as he indicated, of these crimes are children. In many cases, the victims, as he indicated, of these crimes are children. In many cases, the victims, as he indicated, of these crimes are children, and they are young people, the future of these communities.
And just really brainwash people, into thinking about guns in a vastly different way.
One thing that's becoming somewhat of a concern, and that is misinformation that's being posted on social media sites. There has been misinformation coming from people posing as the shooter in this case, posing using other IDs, mimicking this crime and crime scene and criminal activity that took place in this community. There's been some things in somewhat of a threatening manner. It is important to note that we have discussed with federal authorities that these issues are crimes. They will be investigated statewide and federally, and prosecution will take place when people perpetrating this information are identified.
Were the children who were killed in one classroom, spread out across the entire school?
One section of the building is the best way we can explain it. That the deceased were all located in one complete section of the building.
And where was the gunman found?
In the hallway.